All right, folks, we cut the intro short because we don't need to go 3 minutes just to get me introduced one more time. We're going to be here all night long, and we have an update to the CD23 race, just like I had predicted. As soon as the Medina County vote would come in, that we would really determine to see where Mr. Gonzalez is. Let me show you what I'm talking about here, Medina. So here we go. Look at this. So Tony Gonzalez right now is sitting at 48.4%. Let me tell you what's causing that. Medina County came in. He had 2,000 votes for Gonzalez at 44.3%. Now remember, it's a well-known fact that if you can win Medina County, you're more than likely this is for the general, okay, or for the primary, even if you're in a runoff. If you can win that 50+%, then you're probably going to be in the primary and or into the November election. But here's the numbers. If you can't see it, I'm going to just tell you what they are. Tony Gonzalez is at 44%, Brandon at 22%, followed by other candidates in here. Now, why is this key? Because Medina County is like Uvalde and Del Rio, which is Valverde County. They have a very large percentage of the other counties outside of Bexar County. Remember, there's 29 in CD23, 28 are on the outside of Bexar County, 1604. And Medina, if you go down Highway 90 into Medina, Uvalde, Valverde, even Kinney County, a very potent little county, that I-90 corridor makes or breaks the candidates. And what I'm saying, this is what we were waiting for. I was hoping we could get this a little bit earlier, but Gonzalez right now is at 48.4%. Now, if it holds true that the early voting goes, or the election night, like today, election day goes like early voting, then we're looking at a runoff. Now, here is what concerns me. Here's what concerns me is that Tony Gonzalez is sitting, and I see 50.1% in Bexar County. Now, that's too close of a margin. And right now, only 80% of the early votes are showing. Let me say that again. When 7 o'clock hit and the polls closed, 30 minutes later, they usually post all the early voting. Bexar County put theirs up, but then said they're only 80%. I don't like that. Not a whole lot of people should like that, because what that says is they're waiting to see what the other counties are going to do. And so now all of a sudden you're sitting on 80% early voting totals, and that's at 50.1%. It's too close for the other counties. Are going to drag him down, and that's exactly what happened as soon as Medina County popped in. If you look down here, I don't know if my cursor's on there or not, but what you'll see is this number right here is at 48.4%. From a statistical perspective, if Tony is at 48.7%, there is no margin of error by which they can steal it in Bexar County. So right now, somebody is crapping bricks that Mr. Gonzalez is way below the margin of not just error, but of fudging, because this is where they find ballots in the middle of the night. Same thing goes when you do actual ballots. What that equates to is they can't be any more than 1,800 votes, because then they can't find enough ballots to, in the morning, pop out and say that, hey, well, it was a slim win, but they did. On election night, on my election night, we were 1,400 votes up. I knew we had to be beyond 1,800 so that they wouldn't find enough ballots, and we weren't. And sure enough, in the middle of the night, they did that. Same scenario here. They're at 48.4%. It's outside the they can steal it margin, but not impossible. Anything is possible in these big counties. Again, none of that has happened yet. We're just we're telling people to stay informed and watch this number, because this is where things change in the middle of the night. 80% is what they're still sitting in Bexar County. If you look at it down here, it's not showing here, but Tony Gonzalez at 50.1% in Bexar County with only 80% showing. So that to me is a little squirrely. I don't like it. While a lot of the other precincts are reporting, I've got folks in my ear telling me information. So I wanted to at least come on here and just kind of give you that. Uvalde here real quick. Uvalde came in at 1,025 votes for Tony Gonzalez in the early voting, 463 for Frank Lopez, who came in second, and then of course the other candidates. Again, as long as Gonzalez stays below 50% in the preponderance of the outside counties, with 50.1% showing in Bexar County, there's going to be a runoff. And the only way there isn't is if they start to do some crazy, funky stuff in the middle of the night, like they've done before. Again, still too early to call it like that. What I'm saying is we're headed toward in that direction if the trajectory doesn't change. So I'm hearing that Tony Gonzalez has dropped again. Can somebody give me the number? Let me see. Oh, so here we go. You see this 48.3%. He was at 48.4%. And while we're live, he just dropped another 0.1%. If he hits 48, there's no way to recover. I'm going to tell you that right now. Now, that said, the voting for today's election has come in. What I know about the voters for Tuesday on actual election day, folks, is that they wait because they don't trust the early voting. Typically, these are the well-informed voters. And so I suspect this number is going to get, if it gets better for Gonzalez in Bexar County, you heard it here. Something is amiss in Bexar County. Right now, things are tracking for him to end up with about 47.5% based on just a mental calculation. Don't doubt me. I'm hardly ever wrong. And so, because I know the math. And so I'm telling you right now, if this projection continues as the night continues, they're not going to be able to save him in San Antonio. The key factor here, of course, is we had some wonderful candidates, and Brandon Herrera, of course, who found, I mean, he's got a large following, folks. That's all there is to it. 2.7 million YouTubers, whatever the case may be. He's the one who was able to just get a lot of money and bring down or bring up the negatives of Mr. Tony Gonzalez. Again, great and wonderful candidates across. Some of them have won counties outright, and but Tony has fallen behind the 50% threshold all the way around. Let me look and see. We are also tracking the West Verdell race right now, and I'm going to do an update here real quick on the fly. Senor West Verdell against Hatch Smith is, what's the numbers here? Of course, it would go all the other way. Let me look here. If you're joining us live, and I'm Raul Reyes, retired Lieutenant Colonel, we're doing live updates on the fly here, trying to help you just kind of watch here. If you don't want to go, some of you don't have TV anymore, you have apps. And so if you come here, you're going to see that, we're trying to do the best to update. Mark LaHood and Steve Allison, remember those two? Steve Allison is just a traitor who removed the felony penalties from the bill, the voter fraud bill, along with our coward Andrew Merstash. And so he's getting his butt whooped right now. Mark LaHood in San Antonio. It looks like the early voting, 99% of the count is in for the early voting. He's at 54% to 39.5%. And this is from Nick LaHood's brother, I think, or maybe his relative up in San Antonio. So again, John Lujan in San Antonio was running unopposed. Keep a little more here real quick. That's 100. Let me go all the way to 53 because I'm really curious to see how West Verdell is doing against Hatch Smith here. Give me 2 seconds and we're going to find it. 56. There's 53. Okay, West Verdell has extended his lead, folks. He's at 10,966 votes for a total of 57.9%. This looks like he's going to run off with it. It's too late to go vote. So the numbers are what the numbers. I'm going to project right now that unless something drastic changes, West Verdell is going to be the next HD representative for 53. So lots of wins here. And by the way, these are all the Ken Paxton. These are all the Ken Paxton wins or nominations and endorsements. And so bottom line is Trump came in for West Verdell, Ken Paxton, Ted Cruz, Sid Miller, anybody and everybody who's a real conservative, except for Senator Pete Flores, who was helping Hatch Smith with some of our commissioners here in Medina, in Bandera. So you need to relook at this when the commissioners come up and the new judges come up. Ask them who they were for, and let's start getting those clowns out of here too. Let me see. Talking to the data folks in the back. Anybody, any new updates? Are we still sitting at 90, 94? What's the latest, guys? Give me. Okay, we're going to update this one too, real quick, because I'm going to close this one out and then hang in there with me, guys, real quick. I'm hearing that Tony Gonzalez has dropped another 0.1%. If that's the news, this is going to be, it's exactly tracking to the way I said it was. Let me do an update here live. We're doing this live, folks. So, we got a bunch of folks in the back who have volunteered to just watch these races as we're doing these and breathe it into my ear while we're having this conversation with you all. But if you're looking at this, and there's a whole lot of you watching, Tony Gonzalez is at 48.2. Again, being your local host and mathematician, I'm telling you, he's going to trek to right now to 47.6, and they're not going to be able to steal it in San Antonio. If they do, by some coincidence, you heard it here. It happened in San Antonio in the middle of the night. Right now, it's looking like there's going to be a runoff, but too early to call. I'm just saying it's where the projection is on that little line for all my former statistician class takers. That's that little trend line. So unless the bottom falls out on these other candidates, it's looking like a runoff. This is how it happens. You had a lot of wonderful candidates, and each one pulled 4,000 votes each. You've got Brandon Herrera right now at 5,700 votes. Julie Clark at 39, almost 4,000. Frank Lopez at almost 4,000. And of course, we've got Victor Avila, who from Dallas, Texas, came down here to run in this district, is at 1,600 votes, has obviously helped in the case against Tony Gonzalez. So again, lots of good things happening. By the way, Trump has literally wiped the floor with Nikki Haley. I don't suspect that after today or the next couple of days, because there's a couple more March primaries all the way to the 9th of March, that Nikki Haley should stay in the race. But they're not there for themselves. They're there to just destroy Donald Trump, as he looks like he's going to take just about all the delegates and be the nominee against Joe Biden. I think it's too late to trade horses with Joe Biden. Gavin Newsom, you heard it here a couple of days ago, has worse. So Gavin Newsom has worse polls than Joe Biden, and that's why they didn't bring him in, and they don't know what to do with Kamala Harris, so they're in complete trouble. But if you were watching, just for all of you, it's legit. The Supreme Court of the United States literally said that Colorado, and it established precedents for the other states, that Colorado cannot keep Trump off the ballot. So all those, cases against Trump are quickly falling apart. And so bottom line is, it's looking like a Joe Biden and Donald Trump rematch. And if you're watching us here, we're tracking CD23. Going to do another refresh here on the fly, see if anything's changed. But Tony Gonzalez is at 48.2. He has to stay under 48.5 in my mathematical analytical genius that I am, because then there is no way, unless they're just going to be brazen and in the middle of the night try to find 2,000 votes. By the way, my dog is barking at an ambulance. He's wonderful. If y'all can hear him in the back, there it is. He's happy too. He's happy that something good is happening here. So anyway, all that said, 48.2 is where Tony is. Wes Verdell is clobbering literally Hatch Smith, who was endorsed and supported and fundraised by our own very Republican Senator Pete Floyd. Don't ever forget that. Brought to you by a couple of commissioners here in Medina. Former county judge Schuhart was doing the same thing. And so for all my Medina County residents, we need to remember that in the next election. I suspect some of these folks, this is the last term and they're doing their last hurrah. But I hope Pete Floyd revisits the fact that he probably shouldn't run next time, because this is going to be recorded and blasted when he decides he wants to run for state senator one more time. I told you he was a Democrat, and we proved it in the last couple of days. Back to the races that we're watching. Trump looks like he's sweeping the entire nation. He's going to be the presidential nominee. And of course, down here, looks like Gonzalez is going to be in a runoff. Again, In another hour, we're going to know. If by 10:30 he's still at 48.2, we're in the danger zone, because this is where Bexar County right now is sitting at 80%. I want to make sure I'm clear about that. Bexar County has been at 80% since 7:30, when they started to post things on the early voting. So why are they not releasing those votes? That's what you have to ask yourself. And you need to be making some calls. If you're the candidates, you need to be calling Bexar County going, why are you at 80% on the early voting? And they need to show that are 100% on the early voting. And we now know what the total vote for Gonzalez, Herrera, Clark, and Lopez, and Victor Avila, who came all the way down from Dallas to run in this district. We need to know what their totals are, because this is where they do the shenanigans. But we're going to blast them here. Keep us live. We're going to come back in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Just want to give you an update. Back to the data, folks. Any updates? Are we good? Okay, I'm here and we're fine. All that said, more to come, and we will see you on the backside.